a satisfactory resolution. Was that kind of the answer you were looking for? Is this justice?
It's interesting because I was in the middle of the fight with them when all of this started to play out. And do I feel like it was justice? Honestly, I still want an apology from the school district. What happened is when I settled, and I did not want to take a settlement, the district had sent a letter to the union saying if I didn't accept their settlement, they were going to go public and say that I had put my students at risk and showed them inappropriate materials. They made up an entire list of things that would destroy my teaching career, none of which
Wow.
had anything to back up. They had no documentation. The union already had a copy of all of their files on me. There was nothing in it since the time they put in the letters of recommendation saying I was the best teacher they had ever worked with. So, and that had only been 6 months before they wrote these letters when some of this was happening. So to go from the best teacher they ever worked for to being fired in basically a year period was just insane. And I actually looked at the superintendent. If we go to court, my recommendation letter from you and every administrator up below you is going to be what I stand on. And the only difference between when they wrote those letters and that day in my job performance was that I had filed complaints against them. So it was pretty obvious, what was going on. But it was this concerted effort. I came back from Christmas break in 2015, and within 2 weeks, I had 32 orders from my supervisor that if they weren't done, I could be fired. And some of them were ridiculous. Remove the picture of the president from your door or we're going to fire you. To one day at 7:55, she gave me an order that I had to do this big paperwork project and turn it in by 3:30 or be fired. But at 8 o'clock, 5 minutes later, I was in an all-day training with her until 3 o'clock. She knew I would have absolutely no access to my computer whatsoever, yet gave me this order if it wasn't done, that I'd be terminated. But the state investigated, so Boley came in and did a full investigation. And what happened was I took the settlement because of the letter they'd sent, which meant the Bureau of Labor and Industry stopped the investigation and pretty much sealed everything. But Bernie Justo, the head of MESD's school board, went public and said I was a liar, that if it had gone to court, that they would have won, and that the state investigation was ruling in the favor of MESD. Now, I was out of town at the time. I was in Peru as an ambassador for Oregon educators while this is all going on. But what happened up here is the Bureau of Labor and Industry heard what my district said, and I'm guessing at their course of action because I was gone, but made the decision that they would release the entire investigation because they were not going to let the district lie like that in public about what they had been doing. So the Bureau of Labor and Industries released the full investigation as well as the interviews of all of my coworkers that backed up that they were doing what I said they were doing. So
I've got the Oregonian article pulled up right here. It looks like it's got a date of first week of July 2015. Big headline, Boley finds substantial evidence of discrimination against Teacher of the Year. So, I mean, that's a real, attention grabber right there. But then it goes in to validate, after months of conflict with the district, it essentially validates substantial, everything that we're saying. Essentially, I'm just trying to wrap my head around this. bear with here. I'm gonna edit that part out. Hang on. I just actually wanted to quote one part of this article, if you don't mind. Hang on here.
Nope. Sure.
Okay, here we go. So I'm quoting from the Oregonian. Although the case was dismissed, Boley said a determination of substantial evidence of discrimination and retaliation on the basis of Bingham's sexual orientation, whistleblowing activity, and for opposing unlawful employment practices would have been proposed had the case continued, according to a memo from investigator Andrea Damewood. So there you go. They were going to throw dirt at you, and they were going to make this a career ender if you didn't drop the legal activity. I mean, they were going to come at you 1,000 times what you were pressing them.
Exactly.
They were going to go to war. They were going to go to war.
They were willing to continue lying publicly to destroy me, and it made it very clear. The district went public with my attendance records, and said that I had missed a substantial amount of school, and that they had told me I couldn't miss anymore, and that I kept missing school. And they released that I'd missed 45 days of school, and it was a complete lie that they made up, that I missed that time for Teacher of the Year. When they put me forward for Teacher of the Year, they signed paperwork that legally bound me and the district to attend 17 days worth of events. I was legally bound to do that. Aside from that, I missed an additional 5 days. However, that's 22 days. However, the district, in writing, had given me permission in advance to miss 87 days of school. The superintendent wanted me to be gone 1 day a week promoting the district and our program, and actually gave me an order to miss 1 day a week and go out and promote. So I missed 22. I had permission for 87. And they used that. That was the only thing they had to go after me, was attendance. And it was so ridiculous. But they lied. They lied to everybody. And I had the proof because my travel documentation was all paid for by the state. So the state knew exactly how many days I'd missed, as did the district. They'd already signed off on it. So it was complete lying on their part. But they did prove that they were willing to do anything to take me down. So, but what's interesting to note in that investigation that you just read from the Oregonian, that was for the complaint up to October when I filed the first one. It did not include the blackmail, which was a second complaint, and my illegal firing and putting me on leave, which violated state and federal labor laws. So the bully complaint you saw was the first one, and there were 3, and the last 2 were slam dunks. They had just, firing me was against the law, and it was done in retaliation. So even what you see was about to be 10 times worse had the investigation gone on, because they had continued from October through March to break another dozen laws at least.
So I want to ask you this. I've been looking at the Wikipedia page, and it kind of unpacks this pretty well, and there's a lot of media coverage that has since clarified. Are you satisfied that the record is clear and that your name has been cleared in the time since these events? Do you feel that the online record tells a fair version of the facts, or is there more that could be done, like the interview we're doing today?
I appreciate the interview today, because really what happened, it was a year of pretty negative news. Why was the Teacher of the Year fired? What did he do to get fired? No district would do what he's saying. That's just crazy. That ran for 8, 9, 10 months. And the story that you read ran for 1 day. So there were 8 months of build-up and 8 months of smearing me and 8 months of the media running misinformation from the district. And there was 1 or 2 days of, well, look, he really didn't do anything bad. It was the district breaking the law. So there's a lot of people out there who don't know what happened. I was elected this weekend to be a state delegate for Hillary Clinton at the state convention here in Oregon, and perhaps I'll go on to the national. But as I was there, I was approached over and over and over again by people asking how it ended and what happened. So everybody knows what happened, but nobody knows how it ended. Yeah. I appreciate a chance to share my story. And, I've shared a lot of, not negative. My story is different, but I wouldn't say it's positive in some ways. But from my district's actions, a lot of good things came from it. And I look at that, and even though I don't like what happened to me, everything that happened to me was worthwhile. And I'll tell you, when I came to that decision and how that formed in my mind, it was the day I was let go of my job. I was upset and I was hurt. I had 3 news crews show up on my doorstep that day. I was being publicly humiliated for standing up for my students and my rights as an American. But a friend contacted me and said, you need to look at the news that's going on internationally. And the London Daily Mail covered the story. They did a full page, and that picture got picked up around the world. And my phone's beeping. Hold on 1 second.
Battery dead?
No. It's just another call. I'm not sure how to make it go away. Okay, I'm just going to ignore it. It stopped. So, so the day that I was let go of work, my friend called and said, look in the newspaper, you need to see what's happening. And the Nigeria Times had picked up the article and ran the story with a picture of my husband and I riding in the Rose Festival parade. We were the first gay couple to ride in the Rose Festival parade, although I had an order that day. If I said I was gay, I'd be fired. While I'm riding with my husband through the parade, through the city of Portland. It was pretty interesting. But the Nigeria Times was running a picture of Mike and I in the parade and a picture of Mike and I at the Capitol building in Washington, D.C., which they labeled as our wedding. And here I was having a bad day. I'd been just put out of work. I was being humiliated publicly. I open up look at the paper, and I see that in Nigeria, gay people were opening their newspaper to see pictures of a gay teacher being celebrated at the White House, riding in a parade, and though there was negativity because it was related to me being let go. When is the last time people in Nigeria opened their paper and saw gay people being portrayed in a positive light? In Nigeria, they're executing gay people today. And that opportunity to send a different message to somewhere like Nigeria, and the story I ran in Ghana and Singapore and places that don't have very good gay human right records, that made everything worthwhile.
No, it's very, very important. And I wanted to congratulate you and ask about the marriage. So when Oregon started honoring gay marriages in May of 2014, that's when you and Mike got married. Tell me how, Oregon's legalizing gay marriage factored into the timing. Was it something you guys had planned or waiting for the big day?
We had thought about it previously when it became legal, and we didn't want to rush into it. We thought, we'll have time to do it this summer. We'll have a proper wedding. And then it was taken away. So for the next several years, we debated getting married out of state. And in fact, on the weekend that we went to Washington, D.C. To meet the president, we had considered getting married at that time while we were out there. And finally made the decision, no, we pay our taxes in the state of Oregon. My family is from here. They go back generations, and I'm going to get married in my state. So we waited it out, which was a big deal to us at the time. Mind you, I'm the survivor of a widowmaker heart attack. And every time we travel, Mike is very frightened that something could happen. And, as a teacher of the year, I've done a lot of trips down to the South, and Mike was terrified that if something happened, he would not be allowed in the hospital room. And getting married became more and more important the more traveling I did. I did about 80,000 miles as teacher of the year and through my global fellowship. And that's a lot of being away from home in a place where your partnership is not recognized. So getting married was important. We did not realize that getting married would be quite the dog and pony show it was. We got down to City Hall, and an Oregonian reporter was there and a videographer, and they followed us the entire day, from filling out our paperwork to going down to the Melody Ballroom to get married. And when we got down to the Melody, we had been promised that they would find a private place for us to get married. And Basic Rights Oregon, Jeannie, came to us and said, Brett, I'm sorry, the press is refusing to leave. And in the area we were supposed to get married, all the major news channels were there, and they would not leave. And they said to us, you have a choice. You can either get married with the press, or we're just going to have to ask you to leave. You'll have to get married somewhere else. And I let Mike make the decision. My husband, bless him, is probably one of the shyest people you will ever meet. When I met Hillary Clinton, Mike could have gone with me. And I said, Mike, come on, we're going to go meet Hillary Clinton. He looked at me in terror and said, why would I do that? And when I went and met Hillary Clinton, Mike stayed home. And the fact that he rode in the Rose Festival parade to this day is one of those things that, when you have a partner or a husband, they do something that's so special. It kind of cements things in your heart. And for a person who is so shy, he doesn't want to meet anyone, to ride in the Rose Festival parade, it's pretty amazing. But he said that he knew that by sitting next to me for that parade, that every gay person in the crowd and everybody who had questions about gay people would have some answers just by seeing us together. So he did it.